Hello, my name is Pieter Looijstein. I'm a policy officer at the Dutch Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management. I work in the electromobility team, and my focuses are on international and European affairs and on market organization. So in the early days, about around 2008, for the Dutch government, also for other layers of the Dutch government, the improvement of air quality was the main purpose of electromobility projects and policy. But quite soon after that, and especially with the Paris Climate Agreement, the reduction of emissions, CO2 emissions, became the main aim. But of course, there are also other benefits, such as economic opportunities, and also reducing the dependence on fossil fuels. So broadly, you could say that we've always had two focuses. One is on stimulating the adoption of electric vehicles through financial stimulation, so fiscal measures or subsidies. And the other part has been around creating a reliable and affordable recharging network across the country. So for the first part, the first theme, the fiscal and financial stimulation on the adoption, we started with the group where we thought we could have the most effect. In the Netherlands, most new cars are sold as company cars, so that's why we introduced fiscal measures to stimulate the adoption of electric vehicles amongst company cars. And later on, as the more different models became available and also there was just a bigger market, we also started with stimulation with the subsidies for the purchase of private cars. And we've had that program running, that subsidy running from 2020 to 2024. On the other part, the recharging infrastructure, our main efforts have been the installation of the National Agenda for Recharging Infrastructure. This is a broad cooperation of Dutch government, private parties, NGOs, knowledge institutes, all kinds of organizations. We jointly work on the one side, knowledge development, but also just shared norms and advising the central government. Now, a very important part of this National Agenda Recharging Infrastructure is that we've created regional specialized government offices that are creating very extensive and high quality recharging networks, both for light duty and for heavy duty. And in these regional governments, expertise and capacity is bundled. As a government, we make the policy, but of course, we very much value advice and share joint knowledge development together with market players. So we've installed two very important public-private cooperations. One is the Formula E team, which advises central government on their policy with regards to the electric vehicles and also the adoption of electric vehicles. And the other public-private partnership is the National Agenda for Recharging Infrastructure, which has a steering committee, which is also in which also private partners take place. So they advise us, but also they support us, and it improves our policy. So you could say that we have three different roles in standardization. First of all, of course, as a national government, we can request the national standardization body to develop a new norm or a new standard. But of course, more and more standardization is an international development, which you can just take on by yourself as a country. So I think a more important role is that as a member of the European Union, but also of the United Nations, we have a say in which standards can become prescribed at either at European or worldwide level. So that's would be the second way of working on standards. And thirdly, which is also done a lot in the Netherlands, is we prescribe certain standards which we see as profitable for creating a level playing field or creating more reliable services for customers. So that we prescribe standards in, for instance, subsidies, so that you can only get the funding if you have certain standards within your systems. That's for subsidies, and another important way of stimulating and also prescribing standards is that we introduce them in our concession contracts for recharging infrastructure. So you can only get, as a market player, you can only get a government contract if you've uphold certain standards. So you can look at the effectiveness in different ways. I think first of all, about 20% of the Dutch emissions are due to transport. So that shows that it is indeed important to work on the emissions due to transport. But if you look specifically at promoting the adoption and the subsidies of adopting electric cars. We've seen that year after year, our national surveys show that the high cost of an electric vehicle is the main barrier for people to buy one or drive one. So that's why we put a lot of attention towards these subsidies, because in the end, the technology is superior. It can be very comfortable for the end user, and also in its operation, it can be more affordable. So there's a lot of benefits for driving an electric vehicle, but these high upfront costs are the main barrier. So that's why we think it's effective. So we have a lot of EV chargers due to several reasons. I think first off, we just started early, so we got a head start compared to a lot of others. But we've also always had the principle that people should and also want to charge at their destination. So charging at your destination, it's affordable, it's comfortable, and it also puts less stress on the electricity grid, on the local electricity grid. But if you adopt that system, you're going to need a lot of recharging stations. So yes, we have a lot of recharging stations, but almost all of them are AC chargers, so with a bit lower power output. I believe that only 9% of the EV chargers in the Netherlands are fast chargers, so 50 kilowatts or more. So yes, we have a lot, but that's also because we have this principle that people charge where they are instead of en route. We do several things to cope with limited grid capacity. Of course, grid capacity is not just an issue for electromobility, it's a much broader issue in the energy transition, but we do what we can with regards to electromobility. So electric vehicles, of course, have the benefits that the time at which the power is demanded is more flexible than for other parts in the energy system because of the large batteries in the electric vehicles. So we've started a program called Smart Charging for Everyone, and our aim is to have 60% of all recharging in the Netherlands smart by the end of this year, 2025. And we're taking several steps to achieve that. We're doing a large testing program, for instance, in which we test how the different vehicles respond to smart charging profiles. We've developed a national standard on what actually smart charging is, when you can say that an recharging station can smart charge. Another important measure has been that the large public concessions in the Netherlands now all have a paragraph in which they the contractors have to allow smart charging and also actively support smart charging. So we have several instruments for monitoring progress. Very important is the Netherlands Enterprise Agency Recharging Infrastructure Dashboard. That really helps us in keeping track of where the charging stations are, what power output, and also to see historically how it has been developing. And secondly, what's also very important to us is the yearly National EV Drivers Survey. We seek a lot of international cooperation. Clearly, as a member state of the European Union, we continuously cooperate with the other member states in the European Commission on improving and developing the European policy. But we also cooperate with, for instance, the United Nations because they have a lot of they have a competence on setting standards for vehicle specifications. So the international and European institutes which have a legislative role, they are very important to us. But the second part is really about sharing knowledge and jointly developing knowledge. We've done we visited France to learn about social leasing. We visited, we were doing a cooperation together with Germany on bidirectional charging. We're working with California because they have a lot of things that we can learn from. So it's international cooperation, European cooperation is very important to us.